The LA Clippers had one task left heading into the All Star break, and that was to defeat the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix. And that they did. In this episode, last Clipper post game before the All Star break, gonna be talking about the defender that may change the championship potential and ceiling of this Clipper team entirely, and also has the last domino fallen in Ty Lue's rotations that will allow this team to be the best version of itself. Gonna be talking about that on today's Locked On Clippers.
Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day. Your team every day. And your team is the LA Clippers. And I am also an LA Clipper fan just like you. I hope you're a Clipper fan. If you're not, you should maybe consider it because we're always recruiting for more fans here at Clipper Nation. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, in my 18th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dime Dropper Pod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more Clipper and NBA content and LA sports content. And, of course, Locked On Clippers, free and available on all your podcasting platforms, including YouTube, where you can also see the beautiful old-school Lob City Clippers court behind me, and also comment on today's pin question. An interesting one for me tonight. I want to ask you, who do you guys think was the Clippers' best defender in this game? Because I think that there was somebody, a couple people that stood out, but someone in particular that is going to totally change the ceiling of this team, not just defensively, but entirely, that I just did not expect to the degree that I saw tonight. Or should I say on Thursday night, since you're listening on Friday. And then, before in the final segment, I close out with talking about which Clippers will be featured at All Star Weekend and just kind of the overall picture heading into the All Star break. Got to acknowledge a big decision that Ty Lue made tonight that is something Clipper fans have been calling for and may just be the last domino to tip over that allows this Clipper roster to be maximized to its full potential. And we know Ty Lue takes a while to make adjustments, but in the past, he always usually gets it right. And that is why so many Clipper fans, including myself, have not fully lost hope in him. That being said, let's get right into it. Clippers and Suns, obviously no Kevin Durant, not yet ready to play. He will try to play after the All-Star break, or should I say, he's going to play after the All-Star break, just a matter of how long it takes him before he is healthy. Also, Cam Payne, the backup point guard for the Phoenix Suns, not playing, and he usually gives us fits. For the Clippers, the only player not playing was Norman Powell, who was out with knee management. I remember him getting a little bit of a knock a couple of games back, but I hope he's okay. And it's not like Norm has really rested this season, so just giving him an extra bit of rest before the All-Star break isn't a bad idea, especially now that the Clippers are deeper than an Olympic swimming pool and have the guys to make up for his absence. And tonight, the Clippers went 9 deep, which makes you again think Robert Covington is in the doghouse in terms of minutes with Ty Lue. And I really, I made a tweet today about it, on Thursday about it, that Robert Covington, just the fact that he's been so professional through this all is just so admirable. Every single time I've said what's good to him at a game, he always says hi, he always has a smile on his face, even though he absolutely, and I wouldn't have blamed him if he had said, I want to trade, I want to go somewhere where I can play, because I know that I'm good, I know my value, I know what I bring to the table, and we'll see if he plays later down the line. In the playoffs, there might be small ball lineups that Ty Lue wants to go to feature him. But regardless, let's talk about the 9 players that did play. Bones Highland, Nico Batum, Eric Gordon, and Mason Plumlee off the bench. Normal starters. And the 2 guys that I thought really kickstarted this game for the Clippers. And it was a good start in this one. Second straight game with a good start. So I'm happy to see that after the piss-poor starts in the first 6 minutes of the Brooklyn game and the abysmal start against, I'm blanking on who it was. But we had an abysmal start very recently. And in this one, the Clippers won the first quarter 28-23. And I think the catalysts throughout the game, in my opinion, the two guys that are in consideration for me for player of the game are Paul George and Terrence Mann. And by the way, the game I was thinking of was the Dallas game, where they got off to an awful start. But Paul George and Terrence Mann just absolutely did their thing. As far as Paul George, he started out guarding Chris Paul, Terrence Mann guarding Devin Booker. Obviously, the Clippers are going to switch 1 through 4, Zubats and drop coverage. But Terrence Mann was active as always throughout the game, and he does it every single quarter that he plays. That's one thing I love about him. He truly gives no quarter, plays hard all the time. And even though I thought at times, not just him, but everybody weren't doing a great job getting over a lot of screens when it came to Zubats or Mason Plumlee guarding the pick and roll. I thought we left Zoo and Mason on an island, which forced them to step up, and that's why DeAndre Ayton, especially in the first half, got so many of those little push shots in pick and roll. He's a fantastic mid-range player. He loves that foul line jumper and that push shot, and I think that was because Bones Highland, even Terrence Mann, they were getting killed off the screens. They were just dying on screens, and they were way behind the play or way behind the ball handler. And I think Chris Paul and Devin Booker were just missing shots straight up. I think the Clippers' defense was good, but I think Chris Paul and Devin Booker in those mid-range area, Devin Booker is a tough shot maker. He missed some shots. I think second half, Eric Gordon, I'm going to talk about it more in a second, but he really was a major reason why Devin Booker did not continue to go off, because in the third quarter he started heating up, as did Kawhi Leonard, because Devin Booker, Kawhi Leonard, and Chris Paul in the first half did not shoot the ball well at all. Kawhi was 0 for 8. Chris Paul and Devin Booker were 1 for 5 each. And in terms of the Suns, yes, I think we defended Devin Booker pretty well. Like, give credit to Terrence Mann, Paul George, everyone. But I do think that both of them, Book and CP, missed a lot of makeable shots. But Paul George, his jumper was falling in this one. 2-ball, 3, contested, open. It didn't matter. He was hitting. And when Paul George is hitting his jump shot, there's not many people on the entire planet that can guard the guy. He had this one step back against, I don't remember if it was Okogie or Torrey Craig, who both did a pretty good job guarding Kawhi Leonard when they were tasked to. And it was a lot of Torrey Craig. He did a really good job on Kawhi, I have to say. But the same way Devin Booker and Chris Paul were missing makeable shots, I thought Kawhi Leonard was missing makeable shots too. But a lot of them were longer jumpers. So I have to say they did a good job of keeping him out the paint. But I wanted to see Kawhi get a little more aggressive. And that's what he did in the second half. But just to finish off on what I think led the Clippers early, Terrence Mann and Paul George. Paul George was knocking down his jumper, making plays. Terrence Mann was pushing the pace when he could, got to the rim, but also continues to make his 3-ball. And throughout the game, Terrence Mann made the 3-ball. Paul George made the 3-ball. Paul George was 4 for 11 from deep, which is a solid percentage. It's a lot of 3-point attempts, but Clippers win. He makes some. We'll take him. Terrence Mann was 3 for 4 from deep. But I got to talk about the bench. The only quarter that the Clippers lost was the second, 26-29. And in my opinion, that's because they turned the ball over 9 times in the first half, including one sequence that was absolutely ridiculous where they turned the ball over twice, Paul George involved in both, in the backcourt, and allowed 4 consecutive points off that, which gave the Suns some momentum. And the Clippers were only up 2 at the half. Even with Kawhi Leonard 0 for 8, because guys like Paul George, Terrence Mann, Ivica Zubac, who was doing an incredible job on the offensive glass, leading the way in that starting lineup. Marcus Morris, not much going on there. But off the bench, Bones Highland, Mason Plumlee, Eric Gordon, and Nico were solid, but the two standouts, Mason Plumlee and Eric Gordon, on the defensive end, both superb. Mason Plumlee protecting the rim, just an athletic body, more mobile than I realized. I did mention he was in the dunk contest in, I believe, 2015, but he is more mobile than I realized. And what I enjoy watching, and I just did not realize about him, is his ability to handle the ball is far greater than I thought. He literally will grab the rebound and think of going coast to coast like he's freaking Chris Webber or something. And it really can give the Clippers some 5-on-4 opportunities where they can get a lot of transition threes and not have to always work against half-court set defenses. I love the possibilities. And he's also a very good rebounder, good roller, screen setter, and a decent finisher as well. And Eric Gordon. When I mentioned the guy that defensively seemed like he may change the championship ceiling of this team, it was Eric Gordon. He got more minutes tonight or on Thursday night than Marcus Morris Sr. Marcus Morris with 19, Nicholas Batum with 24, Eric Gordon with 26. So he had more minutes than Nico, had more minutes than Senior. He played the 5th most minutes on the Clippers after Paul, Kawhi, Zoo, and Terrence. Thank God Terrence is being included in that, right? But Eric was absolutely incredible in this game on both ends of the court. The way he guarded Devin Booker. And mind you, second half, Devin Booker started getting going, started hitting some jumpers. Kawhi Leonard started getting some going, got to the line, and then hit a mid-range going downhill from the corner, step back. And he wasn't hitting long jumpers at all in this game, Kawhi Leonard. But within 15 feet and in, he was starting to get better looks and starting to catch the ball closer to the basket. They ran some nice plays for him. And after the Clippers, I think the play calling, I don't think it's really been that different. I think the Clippers have been running some good stuff, some more stagger screens, which is when they set 2 screens for Paul or Kawhi to get a little bit of space coming off the wings. I think the Clipper players are just playing with a little bit more burst and trying to get to the rim. Just playing a little more aggressively. Simple as that. And I think, obviously, as I'm going to keep raving about in a second, having a new guy like Eric Gordon, having guys like Bones Highland that can put rim pressure, get to the line a little bit, and be threats to shoot the ball is absolutely massive. And Eric Gordon guarded Devin Booker so well in that 4th quarter, a couple of plays where he just locked him up. Straight up one-on-one defense. He has shown really good hands in these first 2 games and the ability to navigate screens and get over them, stay attached to defenders, being right on their hip, right behind them in their rear view. And Eric Gordon, not only that, hitting the 3 ball, 2 for 5 from deep in the game, and also getting to the line 5 times and making all his free throws, and also able to play make and pick and roll. My favorite stat of the night for him, 7 assists to 0 turnovers for EJ. I mean, can you believe it? Can you believe it? Like, I want to keep raving about how great Eric Gordon played defensively. Eric Gordon played and how amazing it is to have him on the Clippers. But all I have to say right now is he is a better defender than even Will advertised when he came on and talked about how good Eric Gordon still is. Luke Kennard, as much as I love the guy, is never in a million years taking a crack at Devin Booker and making life tough for him. This now gives Kawhi Leonard and Paul George another guy besides Terrence Mann and Nico Batum, and better offensively than both, that can go out there and guard elite players while they can guard lesser players and have more juice at the end of games. And you saw that tonight, or on Thursday night. I keep saying tonight because I'm recording it then. But Paul George, 10 points in the 4th quarter. I talk about stars closing all the time. Well, he closed. And coming up, a big decision Ty Lue made that I really liked. We've been talking about it for a while. What is it? I think you guys know. I think you know what it is. And why does it let this roster reach its full potential? Going to be talking about that coming up. But before we do, going to be talking about Nissan. Yeah, I know. I don't think I've ever done a car ad on this show. But there's a first time for everything, right? And Nissan's Player of the Week for me is none other than Terrence Mann. 2 straight fantastic performances. This guy is the model of consistency. And he always plays hard and is absolutely electric, just like your Nissan. And the Nissan Most Electric Player of the Week is brought to you by the all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya. Terrence Mann, brilliantly fierce, fiercely elegant, stunningly powerful, just like the Nissan Ariya. And the 2023 Nissan Ariya packs pin you to your seat power and premium intelligence all in one EV. The all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya, the EV for people who love to drive. Shop now at nissanusa.com. All right. The Clippers winning this one 116-107 in the Valley. This is the first game Kawhi Leonard has played against the Phoenix Suns since the 2020-2021 season. A game in which he didn't have minutes restriction, let me say. Because he did play at the Clippers home opener this season, but he was on a minutes restriction. So is that really playing against Kawhi Leonard? No, it's not. This was the first time the Suns played against Kawhi, and he didn't play that great, but he won the game. And the Clippers won the game. And we're 0-2 against the Suns this season going into this one, so it's nice to get a win. Every single team has won on the road, and we have one more game against them. And the thing is, we're probably going to be seeing the Slim Reaper, Kevin Durant, which is going to make this team an entirely new threat in the West. But all that mattered in this one was taking care of business against the big three of Ayton, Chris Paul, and Devin Booker. And the Clippers did a phenomenal job on them. I mean, DeAndre Ayton was, I wouldn't say phenomenal job on Ayton. He got good looks in the pick and roll because I think, in my opinion, as I said, I think the guards didn't do a very good job getting over screens. DeAndre Ayton was 8 for 13 in the game, but as always, in typical Phoenix Suns fashion, they completely went away from him and don't really include him as the game goes on. Don't really treat him like a star. Just treat him like, hey, you know, we'll give you the ball when you come off our screens, but we're not going to feed you the ball. You're not a go-to guy like that. I'll give it to you maybe once every quarter. That's about it. I disagree with that, but I'm not a Suns fan, so who cares? And this isn't Locked On Suns. For that, you can go check out Locked On Suns with Brandon. You know a guy who I thought was good for the Suns, though, and I think it was his debut? It may have been his second game. Terrence Ross. He came in and gave them a lift. And it was Josh Okogie and Terrence Ross that kept the Suns in this game, which is hilarious. Josh Okogie, who's shooting 33% from three, was 6 for 12 in the game. And the Clippers, yeah, you might say he was open. That was the game plan, to let Josh Okogie shoot, and he made the Clippers pay. But it is what it is. The Clippers still won. Terrence Ross was 7 for 17 from the field, and it didn't feel like this watching it from a Clipper perspective, but he was 1 for 8 from deep. So he wasn't as good as I thought shooting the ball. He had 16 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. But I just thought the Clippers in the third quarter, and again, the third quarter seems to be the one the Clips are consistently winning. They won it 37-32. And for the Clippers to have another, big 30-plus point quarter in the second half and score over 110 points again, the offense is starting to come together. You're starting to see more dribble penetration. And when people say, oh, the Clippers only play iso ball, stagnant, when Kawhi, Paul George, Eric Gordon, Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, Bones Highland get to the basket and attract two defenders, that's when the cooking begins. That's when the ball movement happens. It's all about them attracting two defenders, getting 2 feet in the paint. When they stand and shoot contested mid-ranges, well, that's not going to happen. They got to make those shots. And that is exactly why Marcus Morris Sr. is not as good a fit for this team as many players. And in my opinion, is probably the 11th most valuable player on the team. 11th. I would take Robert Covington and then the other guys that played in this one, including Norman Powell, over him. And in this game, Ty Lue took Marcus Morris Sr. out early in the third quarter with about 7 minutes left in it and put Eric Gordon in. And that's because Sr., he wasn't really doing anything. The Suns were attacking him on defense and putting him in the action, and he couldn't really guard Ayton. He couldn't really guard guards. He was getting blown by Chris Paul. And I think that was like the only player I can say that about, that Chris Paul was blowing by. He couldn't really guard. And at the same time, he's shooting 2 for 6 from the field and 0 for 4 from deep, not getting any rebounds. And, it was funny. I was watching a 2012 game recently, Clipper game, Lob City, against Memphis in the playoffs. And they were talking about somebody at halftime, and Charles Barkley said, you know what you call a power forward with 0 rebounds? A small forward. And Marcus Morris Sr. started out in the NBA as a small forward. But as I always say, the league now has changed. Teams go with stretch fours, bigger threes playing the 4. But this guy doesn't really get off the ground. And in the beginning of the season, there were all those jokes about, oh, Marcus Morris Sr. is going to have more bounce and lift this season. And it lasted for about 2 months. He was fantastic to start the season. And now you can just see his knees are kind of cooked. He's on the older side of 32 years old. And 33 years old, I'm sorry. And you know, it is what it is. I mean, he's turned 33 in September, but he feels like an old 33. And on this team, the Clippers desperately need more youth, more athleticism, more guys that can get to the hole. Not guys that take contested mid-ranges like our best two players do. So, I love that Ty Lue only played him 19 minutes, and he didn't put him back in the game after that substitution. He didn't play him at all in the fourth quarter. We finally got Terrence Mann closing. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We got Terrence Mann closing alongside EJ, Zoo, Kawhi, and Paul. That's a fantastic lineup. You can, and knowing Ty Lue, he'll take Terrence out and put Norman Powell in to end the game with those guys. But I wouldn't mind if you keep Terrence in and take out one of EJ or Norman Powell. The thing about it is, what Eric Gordon has now brought to the table is, Ty Lue now has an offense-first guy, because he clearly doesn't like Terrence Mann or Robert Covington, or Nico Batum closing over Marcus, because he doesn't like their lack of offense, even though you need guys that can just shoot and make open threes. Now he has Eric Gordon, who's better offensively probably than all those guys I just named, and is showing that he can guard. So you know now, and he can create better than Norman Powell. He's a better passer than him. I think Norman Powell is the better player right now because his ability to score is just fantastic. But Eric Gordon overall, if he continues to play this like level of defense, then he might be the third best player on this team. But now Ty Lue has a guy that fills what he wants for his vision, and that is an offense-first guy now that can guard better than Senior. So Senior, I don't think he's going to be closing games much anymore. And I hope this is the beginning of Senior just getting less minutes. And if they come to their senses for real, he's out of the starting lineup. And then this team will get to new heights. Because this roster is fantastic, and I love the moves we made. You know, I didn't really talk about Bones Highland much so far in this game. And even though he had a tougher night, like he turned the ball over a lot, and you can see his deficiencies defensively, a lot of the same deficiencies that Reggie had, quite frankly. He's going to struggle to get over screens. He is a smaller guard, and he hasn't shown that he's like a great defender yet in terms of like moving his feet laterally and stuff. And a couple times in transition, they went at him and he didn't offer much resistance. But at the same time, he's got long arms, and he's actually at times sitting down and guarding and trying to fight over a screen. Like a lot of defenses just, I always say, and the great Willis Reed and Marcus Smart, I wouldn't call him the great Marcus Smart, but the great Willis Reed said, defense is 80% effort. And Bones Highland, to me, is showing more effort defensively than Reggie Jackson did this season. And, you know, I think he's going to come good. There was one time where he hit a beautiful shot going to his left where he hung in the air and made this layup second half. And he got excited and went and cheated for a steal, and we got burned on a three by a Kogi in the left corner. But again, he's young. And this is the main takeaway with Bones. His mistakes that he makes, there is an upside here. He's a young, talented player with his best years ahead of him that we could potentially have. And he already offers more juice off the bounce than Reggie. And what I loved about him was he wasn't hijacking the offense. He was giving the ball to Paul. He was giving the ball to Eric. He was picking and choosing his spots very nicely of when he was going to run pick and roll and when someone else was going to do it. And I absolutely love that. If he can continue to buy in like that, improve defensively, just keep working at it. Look, I don't think this year's going to get that many minutes in the playoffs, but I already like what I'm seeing much more than Reggie. And, man, he's fun to watch. He got to the line 4 times, made all his free throws. He also stayed efficient. 4 shot attempts, made 2 of them, 16 minutes, 9 points. Second leading scorer off the bench. We'll take it. And Clippers win by 9, 116-107. And coming up, going to be looking forward to All Star Weekend. Paul George and Bones Highland featured in it. Also going to be talking about some of the stat lines for the Clippers in the game and looking at the big picture heading into the break. Let me tell you something about Built Bar. I really miss Built Bar personally. I haven't had it in a while. And if you're looking for a delicious treat and want to have it like me, and you want a delicious treat but not all the fat and calories, you got to try a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays, and one of my goals in my New Year's resolution is to keep eating protein. And the thing about Built Bar is, not only do they have protein, but they actually taste fantastic, and that's because they're made with 100% real chocolate, and they have this chewy interior that makes it feel like more of a candy bar than a typical protein bar. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros, and what's even better is that they're healthy. Only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built Bars at Built.com, but now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. The closest Sam's Club to me is in Torrance or Gardena. That's right. So head to your nearest Walmart today or Sam's Club. Pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream double chocolate or coconut puffs. Or if you're at Sam's Club, 13-bar box with brownie batter and churro. You can thank me later. All right, let's talk about the Clippers in this one. 116-107 over the Phoenix Suns. They are now 18-15 on the road, which, believe it or not, is actually the best road record in the West. So the Clippers, the road runner Clips, we'll take that. 33-28 is the record through 61 games. I'm not really satisfied with that record, but it is what it is. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have now played in 28 games together this season, which is less than half. And in those games, they are 19-9, which is a very good record. And I checked today, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are 78-30 in regular season games for the Clippers. They've only played 108 games together in these 4 years, but that's a very good record. As long as they're on the court, we just have such a larger chance of winning and just a totally different team. And even though Kawhi Leonard started out slow, he got going. And that's all that's important. And I also thought he was active defensively. His rotations were sharp a couple of times. His rotations caused either a miss or a player second-guessing shooting the ball or what they were going to do. Let me read the lines. Eric Gordon, 13 points and 7 assists, 0 turnovers, 2 for 5 from deep, 3 for 8 from the field, and 5 for 5 from the line. Thought he was absolutely incredible and totally is going to raise this team's ceiling if he can continue to play good defense like that. Bones Hyland, 9 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 turnovers, got a steal, 2 for 4 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3, 4 for 4 from the line. So he was efficient shooting the ball. Mason Plumlee, absolutely fantastic. In both games the Clippers have played against the Suns this season, Jock Landale has turned into Andrew Bogut. Prime Andrew Bogut. But now, since we had Mason Plumlee, only played 4 minutes of play. So we took him out of there real quick. Mason Plumlee. As some Clipper fans have started to call him on Twitter, Plum God. 6 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, a block and a steal for Plum God. He was +9. He was 2 for 2, and he made both of his free throws in his 19 minutes. Nico Batum, a quieter night for Nico. Only 3 points, shot 4 threes, only made 1. Didn't get a steal or a block, so a quieter game for the French Army knife, as I like to call him. And then the starters. Zoo played 29 minutes, and I thought he was really solid. Rebounded, dominated on the offensive glass, finished around the rim pretty well. Just thought there were a couple of moments in the first half where he could have been a little bit stronger when he got the offensive rebound. But again, he just gets fouled so much, they don't call a damn thing. Ayton got 6 rebounds. Ivica Zubac's got 12. So give him some credit in the comments. Everybody always likes to rag on Zoo. 13 and 12. Everybody's saying Plumlee should start. I don't know, man. I really love what Zoo does. And he has seniority on this team. He's the longest tenured Clipper, and I think he's earned that starting spot. And I don't really think it makes much of a difference who starts. It matters who finishes. This game, Zoo finished, and the Clippers won. He had a double-double, and he's averaging a double-double. 6 for 9 from the field for Zoo in 29 minutes. I already mentioned Marcus Morris Sr., 4 points, 3 assists, 2 for 6 in 19 minutes. Didn't touch the floor in the fourth. I love it, Ty Lue. Keep it going, and that's nothing against Marcus Morris Sr. I just want to see my favorite team be the best version of themselves. And I just don't believe that's with Marcus Morris Sr. on the court in 2023. But you know who I do think it's on the court with in 2023? The man, the main man, the man for the big occasion, the consistency man. Terrence Mann. 26 points, ties for a game high, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal on 10 for 12 shooting. He was amazing going to the rim in this one. When we saw Chris Paul or Devin Booker, he went right into the chest, did that move where he puts the ball over his head and laid it up. He also had that beautiful Dr. J-esque finger roll that he does going to his right that he just flips up and it always rolls in off the top of the rim, or the front of the rim, I should say. Oh, man, I love that guy. Probably my favorite player in the NBA, honestly. And that shouldn't come as a surprise considering the most important game of my freaking life. Duh. Anyway, 3 for 4 from deep for Terrence as well. 3 for 4 from deep. He's shooting the ball pretty well from 3 recently. Let's honestly check the last 10 games, what he's shooting from 3. And that's not even going to register this game. 48% from 3 for Terrence last 10 games. And get a listen to this. He's now up to 39% for 3 on the season. So if teams are just going to keep letting him shoot the open 3, I don't know. The percentages say that's not a very good decision. But come on, man. That's a championship role player, and I can't believe it's taken till game 46 or whatever it was for him to play this much. And we still don't know if he's going to end games consistently. I can't believe it. I love Ty Lue, but it takes him entirely too long to see the obvious when it comes to defensive first adjustments that need to be made. And just honestly, just understanding Terrence Mann's value. Why does this guy have to prove himself every single season when he's performed in the biggest moments? Come on, man. Let's show some respect. 26 points, though. 10 for 12 from the field in 35 minutes. And then the duo, the 2-1-3. Kawhi Leonard, 16 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Wasn't a great game for him, but what I absolutely love to see is that he's going to be resting. He is not going to Salt Lake City. Great chance for him to get extra recovery. He was 5 for 18 from the field and 0 for 5 from 3. Too many long jumpers, in my opinion, for Kawhi. But you also got to give credit to Okogie and Craig. He was 0 for 5 from deep. Made all his free throws, though, all 6 of them. All of them came in the second half. Played 35 minutes, which I think is a solid number. Paul George played a team-high 36 minutes. He was the man to me that led the charge all the way. 26 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. I don't remember him doing too much defensively. Actually, he made a big defensive play in the fourth when he cookied Chris Paul, straight ripped him. Absolutely love to see it. 10 points in the fourth. He closed like a star in this one. He was I don't know about the best version of himself, but just about as good as you want him to be. He did turn the ball over 4 times, but 2 of those, I believe, were in the first half at least, and they weren't detrimental turnovers at terrible times that usually turn momentum against us. So Paul George, for me, overall the player of the game. You can say it was Terrence Mann, but I don't want to know who your player of the game was in the comments. I want to know who you thought the best defensive player was. For me, I may have to go with EJ, because I mean, I just can't believe what I saw. And I want to say this before I talk about All-Star. The fact that Eric Gordon is back, like, I don't mean to get all nostalgic here, but why not? Why not? Because people don't talk about the pre-Lob City Clippers enough. And yes, I'm a young guy, but God damn it, I was here before Lob City. And I remember when Eric Gordon got drafted, and I remember going to games where this guy would do amazing things. 43 points. I saw it live against the Thunder, 300 section. I also saw him have a sledgehammer tomahawk against the Brandon Roy Blazers that smacked the hell out of us. But those moments stick with you as a kid. And when you get Chris Paul, it's such a great feeling. But you were losing your second favorite player on the team after Blake Griffin. And I always wished Eric Gordon the best. He had a lot of injury problems in New Orleans. But for him to come back now and in a totally different state of the franchise with Steve Ballmer now with a chance to win a championship. And, I don't even want to say finish where he left off because we were never in a position to make the championship or playoffs when we had Eric Gordon. But in terms of unfinished business, in terms of doing something great with this franchise that drafted him and in front of this fan base, in front of us, man, I mean, it's a storybook ending, like, to me. If we win the championship, of course. But just in general, the fact that he's back. I love that guy. I loved him as a kid. And as much as I like Kennard, it's nothing like Eric Gordon. I'm so happy to have him back. And I'm so happy that he's still this good. I hope it continues and it's not just the early, couple of good games. But he hasn't even shot that well. That's the crazy part. He hasn't even had like a 20-point game. It's been 2 games. So I think it's going to be great. But anyway, going into the All-Star break, Paul George in the All-Star game. I'm excited to see him represent the Clippers for the second time. For the second time with the Clips. Hopefully get some buckets. And then Bones Highland in the Rising Stars game is going to be fun. I mean, he's the type of guy that the Rising Stars game is perfect for him. I could see him getting into a showdown with someone because he's that type of, he said Jamal Crawford is one of his favorite players that he looked up to. And as a Clipper fan, that's going to bode over well, hearing that. And Jamal Crawford's the type of guy that used to love those kind of games. He loves pickup, pro-am, that type of style. And the Rising Stars game in the last decade or so has at times delved into one-on-one between guards like Kyrie Irving and Brandon Knight. It was Tim Hardaway and Deion Waiters one year. Tim Hardaway Jr., of course. So we'll see if Bones Highland has a game. We're going to probably be doing an episode on that because, hey, man, we don't got much to talk about in All-Star Weekend because the Clippers. But there always is stuff to talk about, isn't there? And we should probably do an episode on how the Clippers have looked pre-All Star Weekend, because there is a big divide between the post-All Star Weekend mentality and the pre. So I guess that's a nice tease for our next episode. Going to be talking about how the Clippers season's been through the All Star Weekend. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod, and of course subscribe to Locked On Clippers. I think you can tell I'm in a pretty good mood. This is pretty fun. I love when our team is winning, and I love when Kawhi and Paul are playing, and I love when we have childhood heroes of mine back on the team. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? He's got the same number on. Eric Gordon. What a man. And speaking of what a man, Terrence Mann. Come on, son. Locked On Clippers. You already know what to do. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thanks for making Locked On Clippers your first listen today. Now make your second listen game-to-game NBA. Every moment, every top performance, every result, Locked On game-to-game covers every game from across the NBA with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow game-to-game on Locked On NBA, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. The age-old proverb continues as we sit firmly in the 4th spot in the Western Conference, ahead of the Phoenix Suns. If the playoffs ended today, we'd have home court advantage, but I want to see us go up to 3. 33-28, we sit at the 4th seed going into the All-Star break. Considering everything we've been through, I'll take that. The age-old proverb continues, go Clippers. Everybody have a safe All-Star weekend and enjoy the week off.